And welcome to the Metal Mixtape here on KSKQ's 89.5 FM Ashland, Oregon, 94.1 FM Medford, Oregon. Stream online on kskq.org. It's the boy, it's the Don, DJ Ramo. I am honored and beyond privileged to have a rock god, a metal god on the show tonight, the one and only DD Verni. What is up, DD?
Hey, thanks for having me, guys. I don't know about legend, but I'm around. I'm still alive.
I would say you've inspired a lot of people. You growing up through not only DD Verni, but also Overkill, and just growing up through life, man. You know, it's sometimes you can inspire one person, and that could change an entire life's generation.
Well, it's really one of the coolest things about being in a band for a long time is we do have a lot of guys and girls, who come up to us and say, I met my wife at, your show in 1990 at the whatever, and or guys show up and they say, here's my son who's 16 and he's been listening to you, and I told him I went to your show, and you take some family pictures and that kind of thing. That's always a lot of fun.
Is this everything you expected it to be, being like in the music industry? Is this something you always knew you wanted to do when you were younger, or would your younger self be surprised of the type of life you live today?
Well, I always wanted to. I either wanted to play on the New York Giants, and I think by the time I was 15 and I realized I was going to be 130 pounds, that wasn't going to happen, and I kind of moved over to music. That's really all I ever wanted to do. Now, I wasn't the kind of guy where it's like, oh, I always knew I was going to do this. I always knew that I wanted to. Has it turned out to be a life that I thought it could be? It definitely is. I mean, I couldn't have wished for any better. I've been everywhere. I played everywhere. I've made 20 whatever records. Been doing it my entire life since I'm 22 years old or whatever. And never wanted to do anything else. Just couldn't be happier.
That's amazing, man. Do you remember a turning point when you were younger, when you thought that maybe like music was going to take you somewhere, like maybe like a first big show, or maybe like your first label signing? Do you remember a big moment when you were younger going like, holy shit, like this is going somewhere?
I think, and maybe the first time we went to Europe, we made our first record, Feel the Fire, and Johnny Z called us up and said, I got you guys a tour with Anthrax. It was like maybe 10 shows, 12 shows, something like that in Europe. And that was our first time ever going, so we had to go get a passport. And we were like, all right, this will be fun or whatever. But when we got over there, the response was like, crazy. There was the first time you were signing autographs and signing albums, taking pictures with kids, and we're doing meet and greets. And I think that's probably the first time where we kind of looked around and said, like, wow, damn, we're like a real band. I mean, we're all the way over here, and we're over here in Germany, and people know who they are, and they're singing the songs. So it's like, maybe we got something here. It's not just. It was nice, kind of the band growing in the Jersey, New York area. We were getting bigger and bigger crowds. But I think when you fly somewhere else and you get off, and people start showing up, it kind of hits you that you're a real band.
Oh man, that just sounds absolutely insane and just incredible. Do you remember like one of the first lessons you had to learn as far as like going from being just in a band but to a touring band, or like a sacrifice that you had to make for your dream to really come true?
Well, I mean, there's a time away from home. I've been married forever. The woman I'm married to, I went to high school with.
Oh wow!
So we've been together forever, and so time away from home and away from her, that's kind of like the burden that you have on tour. Otherwise, I tour 300 days a year. Why not just play as many shows as you possibly could? And I have a couple of daughters too, and kind of being away from them. And I think that's that's kind of the only thing. If you're working 24 hours round the clock in the studio and you're on tour for weeks and weeks at a time, and it's the grind, it's still great, because it's still not a real job. It's playing music, it's writing music, it's recording music. It never felt like work, no matter how much work you do. I mean, the hours that musicians put in compared to regular jobs is triple. But I think that's probably the only thing that's ever hit me through the years that was like, this part is hard. It's just being away from, being away from your family.
Oh yeah, no, I couldn't imagine, and also like you're spending so much time with your bandmates, I know you've played a whole lot of shows. This will be my final question before we get on to Dreadful Company, your new album by Verni.
Right.
So all shows can't always go perfect. Do you remember a time where you had like your worst possible show? Maybe equipment wasn't working, the stage is falling apart, cancellations. Do you remember having like a really bad show in your career?
There's a million of them.
What if you could pick one that was like the biggest overall fail? Which one comes to your mind first?
Probably we played, and it was a huge show. We were playing. We were out on what the hell was the name of the thing? It was a Megadeth tour. It was a Gigantour. We were out on this tour, and they had two stages, and we were headlining one stage, and Megadeth and the other guys were on the other stage, and we were at this big place in Long Island, some coliseum out there. But the stage, for whatever reason, was happening. They didn't have lighting for it. They had a PA for it, but they didn't have lights, and so they had to take the lights from the main stage and trying to point them across the arena. They tried to get them to our stage, and they had like a couple of follow spots for us. It was just like, what the fuck? We're in this gigantic 20,000 seat room, and we got like flashlights on us. It was uninspiring. But there's just, and you play we played literally thousands of shows. There is so much shit that has gone wrong so many times, and a lot of times, honestly, it's at bigger shows. Where pyro goes off where it's not supposed to, and shit gets blown up, and it's like the little club shows. Not much goes wrong. You set up, you kind of blast it out, the kids go crazy. It's the bigger shows where shit is like, what the fuck? Sometimes.
What do you prefer smaller shows over big shows, or what do you think has the perks of both?
I guess for us, our sweet spot is like 2,000-3,000, like right in there.
Yeah.
That feels great to us. When we get into bigger rooms, or even like a lot of times when we play festivals on those gigantic stages, we're just, it doesn't work for us as well. We're not, it's not as intimate for us. We're not as connected to the crowd. They're fun to do from time to time, but I'd rather do that kind of show, like that theater show. And that's where we've spent most of our career. So I think that's probably what's most comfortable.
I totally understand, man. Dude, I listened to Dreadful Company all last night and all this morning. It's totally mind blowing to me because, like, I grew up. I have Overkill vinyls on my wall.
Right.
So I grew up on Overkill. I grew up. I'm also a thrash singer. I grew up singing thrash metal. So, you guys were just always so huge on my list as far as thrash. But then listening to the new Verni, man, I was just like, this sounds like a completely different personality, dude. Especially you with the singing, writing, producing. It sounded almost like rockabilly meets punk metal meets like, just, I don't know, just straight rock and roll down your fucking throat, dude. And I love the structuring, the guitar solos in it. It's almost like feel good music.
That's funny. I've just gotten that from everybody, which is good to hear, because that's kind of what I was feeling like doing it, and that's what that kind of music feels like to me. I mean, I grew up listening to, high energy, fun Ramones, Misfits, Dead Boys, punk rock music, and punk rock music was fun. Hardcore was different. That was tougher. That was grindier. But the Ramones and and even the Misfits, it was more. They had more of a fun kind of edge to them. And I grew up with that shit. That was the first music that I played. That was punk, and right at the beginning was like Kiss and Sabbath back in the 70s. And so between those two, that's what I was listening to all the time. And doing a record like this has just been on my list of things to do for a long time. And when COVID hit, I was home a lot, like everybody was. But I have a studio here. So for me, it was the first time, like, I could spend 8-10 hours a day every day. There was no touring, there was no anything. I just would go out to the studio and I just pumped out records and more, just went from one thing to the next thing. And one of the records I did was this one. And but I have gotten a lot of things that it's, it feels like, summertime music, pull the windows down in the car, driving down the shore, cranking up the tunes. I'm like, that's exactly what I was doing, back when I was listening to those punk rock records. So if it's got that kind of energy in it, that's exactly what it should have.
I know. I think that's a great representation exactly of this album. Some of my favorite songs, I think the one overall has to be Call of the Highway. Which all of them, honestly, they have great structures. I love structures that just build up harmonies and build up to the solos, because you have so many sick solos on here. But it's funny because I actually just joined a punk rock band, right. and when I was listening to this, it just inspired the hell out of me. I was actually sending my friends some tracks. I was like, dude, this is beautiful melodic rock and roll with the punk aspect, but the thing is, it's the vocals really set it. I feel like when you're trying to differentiate punk rock, thrash, or rock, it's always the vocals that are the anchor of where the direction of the music goes. And there's just, like I was saying, just so much feel good energy, but so much of that rock and roll soul in it, dude. I thought it was just overall sick. I mean, of course, Lunkhead's another sick song. Red Flag's really great. Wild Horses is awesome. Thanks for the memories. No, but this is just a complete change than what I'm used to watching you play.
Yeah, it's I think Overkill has definitely has punk edge for sure, and we've done some punk rocky kind of tunes through the years, thrown them in here and there for fun, because I just can't get it completely out of my system. But this is the response has been good from the Overkill people. You're never sure. Sometimes when you do a record that's kind of between genres, you either win over the punks and the metalheads, or you alienate both. So far it seems like the punk rock guys, that there's been enough there for them to kind of latch onto, and the metal guys, there's been enough toughness in it too for them to grab onto. And it's funny, especially with doing the melodies and the harmonies. There's so much of that on this record, and not on all punk records, but I know Green Day is one of my favorite bands, and a lot of times their songs may seem pretty straightforward. There's not much going on, but you put on a set of headphones and listen to a newer Green Day record anyway, not the older ones, and there is so much harmony and vocal stuff and guitar counter melodies, and it's so complex. It's just unbelievable what they have going on in a simple 3-chord catchy melody song. So that was inspiring to me, just to hear some of the stuff that they did, kind of bring some of that to what I was doing, so that it wasn't just 3 chords and a melody, but that it did get a little denser with harmonies and counter melodies and that kind of thing.
Yeah, no, I completely agree, man. Especially with the counter melodies and all that. There's so much you can do with so little. If I feel I think another band that does that really well is Foo Fighters. Yeah, great too. Yeah, just a couple 4-chord. But the thing is, they can make those 4 chords into a verse, a bridge, a chorus, just out of 4 chords. Yeah, and a lot of my favorite music. That's just great songwriting. Yeah. If there was is there a specific song on this album that you were maybe hoping people would maybe like or really get into? One that is maybe a favorite specifically to you?
Well, I think I know Lunkhead was the first song I wrote for the record, and that kind of was the kind of the guiding star for it. It's it had some great background vocals on it, and it had good hooks in it with some metal, some punk rock, and that kind of set the standard for all the other songs. But and that seemed to be the one everybody gravitated to, or when I would send demos out and when I would send stuff out. But for me, I really love Thanks for the Memories. That was one that I had, that just because it had some rock and roll in it, had a little Motorhead in it to me too. That was one that just connected with me a lot. I like that song a lot.
That's awesome, man. Do you plan on touring on this album?
Do I plan on what?
On touring, promoting this album?
Well, we'll see. I mean, I know I've gotten some calls on some different things, and the thing with touring, especially with something like this, I don't have a band. So I'd have to put a band together, which would actually be kind of fun to do. I think if I did some songs, though, if I did some shows, I'd probably do a little bit, I may do an Overkill song or two. I'd do some songs off of this record or my last solo record. Maybe I'd do something off, I had a band, Brock's Casket, a while ago, that maybe I'd do a few of those songs. So I kind of got to do like a whole kind of thing, the songs through my career. But we'll see. To me, if it's something, if the touring is something that makes sense and that is fun, then I'm up for it. If it's a grind and it's and it's going to be difficult and it's going to be, then probably not. But if it'd be fun and interesting and I can get good people involved, then for sure, absolutely would go do some touring and do some shows.
You ever think you might feature Bobby Blitz on a Verni song?
I thought about that a couple of times on this record, and it just never came. It never came to fruition. I actually thought about Thanks for the Memories. I thought Blitz might be good on that one.
Maybe in Cemetery Safari you could just have him be like, be a hurricane.
Yeah, that would be great too. So, you never know. I know we talked. It's funny because Blitz put out a solo record a while ago, and we were like, we should go out and I'll do my solo thing and you do your solo thing, and we'll put a package together and go out and do some stuff, because that would be fucked up. That would be like I know Steve Harris, right? He's got his British Lion thing and Maiden, and Bruce Dickinson has his thing. And imagine if they went out and did some shows where they were both playing their alternate bands. I said that would be like so fucking cool. I would love that. So who knows? Who knows?
Yeah, and then Adrian Smith, he did a project with Richie Kotzen. So put them on the bill too. That would be fucking amazing. That's awesome, man. The new album, Dreadful Company, via the label M Theory Audio. Great record, like I was saying. I'm going to be spinning it all day just because I love that rock and roll, punk rock, just melody feels. Before we end the interview, can I ask you just a bunch of off-the-wall questions? Or
sure.
On-the-wall questions? All right. All right, for the first one, if you were in a zombie apocalypse, but you only could have one weapon to destroy the zombie horde, but it can't be a nuke or the cure, what is your one weapon?
Oh, God. I have no fucking idea.
Just think about it. Your house or wherever you live is getting attacked by zombies. If you can manifest one weapon in your hand to kill that dirty, dead person, what would it be?
I don't even talk. I'm thinking of a chainsaw on a long pole. That's a tree trimmer, where I can have some distance and cut things apart.
I like it. Who is one person that you've met in your whole music career that maybe ended up being nicer than you thought he was going to be? Like maybe 'cause sometimes they say you don't meet your heroes, but I know I've met a couple of mine and they've been awesome. Have you had an experience like that?
Who gets a bad rep a lot of times is Dave Mustaine. And he has always treated us and Overkill and with great respect, always treated us really well, always was very, very friendly. Whenever I would show up with my kids on a tour, he always came over to make sure he said hello to them. And so sometimes he gets a bad rap, but I think he's just a really good guy.
Yeah. No, Dave always has stage face on,
Yeah,
I'm just joking.
He's just a goofy guy like the rest of us. He really is. And we toured with him way back in the day too. So I've known him for a while, but I think people have a wrong conception of him sometimes.
I like it. Out of everywhere you've played in the world, which people have the craziest fans?
The craziest fans, probably South America somewhere. Maybe Argentina comes to mind right away. Chile.
Yeah, they go crazy?
The Latin people are, like it's the old stereotype about the Latins being, hot-blooded, and the fact is they just are. They're just passionate. They're just passionate as fuck. They like to, have a few beers. They love to scream and yell and sing. It's pretty nuts over there when you play over there.
I like it. I don't know if you keep track with like social media at all. Did you hear about Linkin Park's new lead singer?
I did. I saw that they have a female lead singer.
Have you had a chance to listen to it yet?
I couldn't tell you a single Linkin Park song, so okay. I don't think that I would be someone to talk about, whether she's a good choice or whether she did any good, because I couldn't even tell you. I don't think I've ever heard a Linkin Park song.
Right on. No, hey, that's 100%. Hey, it's all good. You know what? It kind of blows my mind. A lot of people haven't heard one Linkin Park song.
Yeah, I mean, I think they got bigger like when I wasn't paying attention, which often happens. I mean, I just discovered Oasis 2 years ago. My kids are like, "Dad, are you kidding?" I'm like, "Hey, I missed the boat on them. They're really good." So who knows? Maybe I'll start listening to Linkin Park now. I have no idea.
Hey, until like 7 years ago, I didn't know pickles were cucumbers. I thought there was just like pickle trees or pickle plants.
Oh, wait, see, there you go. It's always time to learn.
Do you watch horror movies at all?
Not particularly. Some, I guess.
Okay. All right. Let's see. Maybe this is possible. If you could choose your death, but it had to be by somebody who was the villain in a horror movie, who would you choose to do it, and how would they do it?
I don't know. My favorite. See, the villains that I would know about would be more like Maleficent. Okay. Those are the ones that in the Disney movies, or that kind of thing. So, and anything Angelina Jolie wants to do to me is, fine with me too. So let's just leave it at that.
You've been doing music for a whole long time now, and I know that Jason Bittner just left Overkill. I grew up on Jason Bittner with Shadows Fall and everything. Like, how is it in this point of your career to like find new people to come play? Like, and what's that process like when you hear an announcement like that, and then like the band has to figure out what to do? Well,
we knew about this for months, for a long time. So it wasn't really that big a thing. And usually for us, the first thing we do is, you start going down names on the lists, like the main thing for us at this point where we are is there's a million great drummers out there. They're everywhere, but it's somebody that we can get along with, somebody that can hang out with us, get along with the crew and the band and kind of fit into the family. Because I don't care how good a drummer you are or how good a musician you are or a producer or anything else. If you're not fun to be around, we have a really good group of guys with Overkill. Our crew, the band, we're all kind of best buddies, best friends. We get together. There's a lot of laughs. There's a lot of fun. And the crew, too, is part of our family. And it's a good time on Overkill tour. And so that's kind of the main thing, is us finding somebody who can kind of gel with us. And that's why Jeremy, who's in the band now, we've known him for years and years. And so he was our first call because we knew he was a good player, but we liked him personally. So we just finished up a tour in Europe, and things could have been better. Really, really good.
That sounds amazing. Dee Dee, thank you so much for talking to me today. It was a pleasure. It's always awesome to talk to somebody I have pictures of in my room, and just people I just grew up listening to, and listening to the new Verni, Dreadful Company, was a breath of fresh air. And for anybody listening who loves beautifully structured rock and roll punk music with beautiful melodies and beautiful shredding solos, and if you're an Overkill fan and you want to get completely mind blown, listen to Verni's new album, Dreadful Company. And you have the album before, Barricade, right?
Yep, that was the first one. This is the second.
Yep, this is the second one. Verni, thank you so much for being on the show. Before I let you go, can you say this is DD Verni and you are listening to the Metal Mixtape?
Sure. Hey guys, this is DD Verni and you're listening to the Metal Mixtape.
You are freaking awesome, my friend. I appreciate you so much, and have a good rest of your day, interviews, and I can't wait to see you on the road sometime.
All right, great. Thanks, man.